Friederike Beer, one of Egon Schiele's sitters from the year 1914, described Schiele as tall, thin, shy and quiet. He spoke with a Viennese intonation, but not in the heavy dialect. He dressed normally, but even so he stood out in a crowd. One could tell there was something unusual about him. That fantastic head of hair, those outspread ears. He really appeared rather spectacular. Egon Schiele was born on the 12th of June 1890 in Tulln, just 27 kilometres outside of Vienna. René Price describes him in the foreword of the Egon Schiele Portraits Catalogue from the Neue Gallery, New York, as a precocious Mozart of art. Schiele's parents were both Catholics. His father, Adolf, was a local railroad station master. His mother, Marie, was a Czech from the Gothic town of Krumau on the Moldau. Characterised by its towering castle and winding river, the picturesque town would call forth some of Schiele's most heartfelt and sombre paintings. Although all of his art is memorable, it is in the area of portraiture that Schiele truly soars. From their stunning psychological depth to their powerful sense of colour and composition, Schiele's portraits are unquestionably masterworks in the entire history of art. Egon Schiele had an older sister, Melanie, born in 1886, and a younger sister, Gertrude, or Gertie, who was born in 1894. Egon, his sisters proudly maintained, was born with a pencil in his hand. Drawing for him was not just a daily diversion, but ein Muss, I am a must, and it was compulsive. At first, his favourite subject was, not unsurprisingly, trains, but soon Egon began sketching portraits of himself and his family. The boy's sisters noted that their brother never passed a mirror without stopping and staring at himself intently. I wonder if my sister would say the same about me. This resulted in infrequent self-portraiture from an early age. I am fascinated by Egon Schiele's dualism, which can be found in both his art and his sense of self. Schiele's very nature was driven by opposing elements, and he himself put it, I am the noblest of the noble, and the humblest of the humble. I am human, I love death, and I love life. Today I've been reading about how this sense of dualism, these opposing elements existed not just in Egon Schiele's art and life, but in the very fabric of Viennese society itself. As I mentioned, Schiele was born in 1890. This was just 1 year after Crown Prince Rudolf was discovered dead in a hunting lodge in Meiling, just outside Vienna, in an apparent double suicide. I was recently part of the Royal Ballet's staging of Meiling at the Royal Opera House, and it was one of the most incredible productions I have ever experienced. The choreography is by Kenneth Macmillan, and the story is set to the most sublime music by Franz Liszt. I watched a recorded performance of it this morning, starring Ed Watson as Crown Prince Rudolf, and was blown away. The dancing, acting, costumes, set and music capture brilliantly the corrosive and crumbling Habsburg Empire as it desperately tries to maintain a veneer of power, propped up in vain with artifice, pageantry, politics and pomp. This was exactly the environment that Egon Schiele found himself battling against. The smothering city of Vienna itself provided a powerful impetus to go beyond the surface of visible reality. The satirist Karl Kraus famously described the rigid atmosphere of Imperial Vienna as an isolation cell in which one was allowed to scream. In the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the rational frequently seemed under attack by the irrational. This seething, multinational empire was headed by the elderly and backward-looking Emperor Franz Joseph I, who had been on the throne since 1848. In the years between 1900 and 1914, when the assassination of the emperor's heir apparent triggered World War I, the political fragility of the senescent Habsburg monarchy was ignored. Signs of doom were masked in a frenzied dedication to ritual and spectacle. The changing of the imperial guard provided a daily pageant and confirmation of the apparent stability of the court. The great industrialists and wealthy upper class had already created their symbol of culture, the Ringstrasse, a protective circle of magnificent public buildings and stately homes that effectively blocked off the outlying factories and slums. The great avenue provided an impressive facade, a material representation of Krauss's metaphorical isolation cell. If the architecture of Vienna projected a euphoric and still vital identity, the new century's artists, architects, musicians and dancers all had a different and troubled vision. Essence was to replace ornament. For Schiele, the questioning exploration of private identity took priority over public persona, and an unprecedented frankness about sexuality replaced the sensual gaze of Klimt's erotic drawings. Society's rigid and repressive facade was now regarded as a horrendous and hypocritical lie. Truth lay underneath and could be exposed by probing the individual psyche in all its changing states of being. The new aim of art, according to Krauss, was not was wir bringen, what we bring, but was wir umbringen, what we destroy. A savage analysis of environment began. Ornament and facade, what Krauss bemoaned in language, Schönberg purged in music, and Adolf Loos criticised in architecture, Sigmund Freud pursued in psychology, and Egon Schiele explored in portraiture. The pursuit of essence, the phenomenon of the self with its varying manifestations, this became the subject matter of Schiele's self-portraits. A startling subjective view of reality was born, and a new and jarring stylistic vocabulary was fashioned. This entailed not only the passage from the facade to the psyche, but also a transition from the rational to the irrational, from the environmental to the existential, from schein, appearance, to sein, being. Schiele's expressionism was characterized in content by a heightened sense of impending doom and an acute awareness of the troubled self. In form, his art grew from the great reservoir of European symbolism. The evocative tableau of gestural imagery available to Viennese artists included the eurythmic allegories of revered Swiss artist Ferdinand Hodler, the poignant sculptures of French artist Rodin, and the elongated figures of Belgian sculptor Georges Minet. In addition, there was the fledgling silent film industry, with its necessarily exaggerated pantomimes of emotion. I shall close my reading with a few aphorisms Egon Schiele penned at the end of his letter to his uncle and legal guardian Leopold Zizek on 1st of September 1911, when Schiele was 21. As long as there are elements, complete death is not possible. One who does not thirst for art is close to degeneration. Look, if you can, into an artwork. It pleases me that there are so few people with a sense for art. That evidences again and again the divine in art. I paint the light that emanates from all bodies. Even the most erotic art has sanctity. I will reach the point where people will be shocked by the magnitude of every one of my living works. A single living artwork suffices to ensure the immortality of an artist. My pictures must be placed in temple-like buildings.